In this video, we'd like to introduce the 4 different edge sanders that are offered by Rabid Models. These tools were developed by Funscale Models and Rabid Models together, and this video is to show you them in a little more detail with some close-ups so you can see exactly how they work. Now, these sanders come with the sanding paper installed, but I wanted to show you how to do it because you might want to put your own paper on here. To take the old paper off, you can dissolve the adhesive with the foam safe activator, which has heptane in it. The heptane will dissolve the adhesive and you can peel the paper off. Once it's dried, you can put new paper on. So how do you do it? Well, we use a spray adhesive, and I'm using this stuff. It's 3M77. And you spray it on and you wait a few minutes for it to dry, because when it's wet it doesn't stick as well. Now, I've already sprayed this paper. What I do is curl it so that it will fit into the part that I'm going to do. This one's a half round piece, and this is 60 millimeters long. So it's curled, it's sticky. I press it in like this, and you have to make sure it's pressed down into the cavity with your fingers, and then you pull the edges around like that until it's stuck tight. Now, with the smaller ones, you really have to get in there. What I've done with the smallest one is use a paintbrush and press it in like this with my fingers to get a nice strong seal there. You can see here there's a gap, so I just press it a little bit more. When the glue is still wet, the paper's flexible enough to press into that gap. There you go. So that's how you apply the paper. Any overhang like this can be cut off with a knife. You put it on a flat surface and run the knife blade along the edge like this, and it's really easy to do. So that's how you install the paper on these. Okay, now we're going to show you these 4 sanders in a little bit more fine detail. They are roughly 4 3/4 inches long, shaped like a toothbrush, kind of, and the sanding surface is a little over 2 1/4 inches long. To be exact, they're 120 by 60 millimeters. And there are 4 types, as you can see here. The first one has a pretty sharp angle. This is 60 degrees. So if you put a flat surface like a piece of balsa in here, each side will be 30 degrees of bevel. The sandpaper is on the sides as well. The next one has a 90-degree angle, otherwise making 245 degrees on a bevel. It also has the sandpaper on the side for a flat surface. Then I have 2 round ones. The first one has a small opening. This is roughly, let's see what it is, about 5 millimeters, 4 millimeters, circular shape, and it has these 2 flats, and on the side there's flats as well. The last one has a larger half circle. This one is about 1 centimeter, and it's round, and it has flat sides as well. Okay, now I'm going to show you what these can be used for, these different shapes. The first one, the 60-degree angle one, is for putting a bevel on balsa that is a little sharper than 45 degrees. And to show you that, I'm going to start with the 1/8 balsa. That's this piece here. And show you that you can see it's going to bevel both sides. Actually, I want to show you the smallest piece of balsa I have, 1/16. Even this small piece of balsa you can put a very fine bevel on it. And here's how it works. You just grab it, put it in the center. You don't want to sand it like this, you want to sand it with it centered. And just draw it a couple times. And it puts a very nice fine bevel. I'm trying to get this to focus so you can see. There you go. Obviously, the more you sand, the more it's going to take down these sides, but it puts a fine bevel on here. Now, the next tool, the 45, will put a sharper 45-degree angle on each side, and this is a 1/8 balsa. I'm going to put it in here like that and sand it. Actually, how do you know where the center is? I forgot to show you my centering tool. I'm going to put this on here. Get my pen. There's a hole here. And you put the pen in the hole, draw it back and forth like this, and it puts a mark right in the center of that balsa wood. So when I use that sander, this is again the 245s, and you start sanding, you sand until the line is just starting to disappear. Like that. Because the sander is not touching the line. Okay. The edge here isn't good enough to see. I'm going to do that a little bit more. So what I've done is I put a bevel on each side of that line. So, what if you don't want to bevel? What if you want to round over these pieces? That's what the last two here are for. I've got a small circle and a larger one. Obviously the small circle is for smaller pieces. So what I'm going to do is round over one of these, like the one I just did. This had the 45-degree bevel. I'm going to put it in here, like that, and sand it. This would be, I'm going to kind of turning the wood back and forth a little bit. This would be if you're doing a leading edge on a model. You want a nice rounded edge here. That's what we have. It's rounded over. Of course, you can sand it more if you want. But instead of being a flat bevel, it's a curve. And got the larger one here, which can handle larger pieces. Here's a 1/4 inch piece of balsa. And this fits in like that. So it's just going to round off the edges here. This is 150 grit sandpaper, so it's fairly fine. Okay. You can see where it's rounded this side here and around this side. But I didn't do all the way to the center. Okay, I didn't have a centering tool handy for that big 1/4 inch piece of wood, so I'm going to use a smaller 3/16. And here's my centering tool. Put that on there, use my pen to make a line right in the center. And then that round sanding block, I'm going to use that. And the reason I put the centering line on here is because I don't want to sand all the way to the center. By doing this, it's sanding the edges. It's not reaching the center. Let me switch around. All right. So you can see here the line's still there, and the sides are rounded over. This side needs a little bit more, so. See, the line is starting to get a little bit dimmer. There we go. See, it's nice and round, but the line is still there. The line helps control the sanding and also marks where the hinges would go if you're going to hinge this. But this is a leading edge demonstration, so I'm just rounding over leading edge, and you can use that line to kind of guide so you don't sand too much off with that nice straight leading edge. All right. Now you can also use these tools on foam, and I have a piece of Depron here, and I'm going to use the round one. Yeah, I'll use the 60-degree one just to show you. Here's how it fits on here. I'm going to sand this edge off. Depron's a little harder to sand with this paper. Once you get it going, okay, now how far am I going? Not quite all the way yet. All right, let's take a little bit more. Turn around, do the other one. I hope you can see that I have a really nice bevel on each side. Okay, I finished sanding this piece. I want to show you this beautiful bevel that I have here on the Depron. This would be perfect for a 3D type plane where you need a lot of control throw. And the centerline marker, of course, can put the line right there so that you can place your hinges right in the center. Now, these sanders have these flat sides and sharp corners, which can be handy for other things. For example, here's a piece of balsa that has an inner corner. It's very hard to sand those inner corners. But this tool will get into that corner like this. So if you needed to sand an inside edge like that, this tool can reach into sharp places like that. And you can use the other tools, like if you wanted to round this over. Let's see, here's, that's too big. This is the larger rounder right there. I can round those edges. There we go. So those are some of the things you can do with these sanding tools. 2 corners and 2 rounds. Okay, last but not least, I thought I'd show how I'm going to put a bevel on blue core foam, which is used in Rabid models kits. The first thing I'm going to do is peel the plastic coating off, because it's very hard to, or it's easier to sand the bare foam than it is to sand it with the coating on. But I'm just going to do one side so I can show you how this works. I'm going to use my edge marker, edge line marker, center line marker is what we call it, with a pen. Put it in the hole here, and I'm going to mark the center line. All right. Now it skipped a little bit because I was pressing too hard, but I got a center line. Now I'm going to use the 45-degree sander to put a bevel on this foam. Okay, here we go. Now this is the side that I peeled, the one that's facing the camera. It's got a nice bevel on it. Missed the edge here. Okay. See, there's a bevel up to the line. Now the other side had the plastic coating. It didn't sand as well. It does have a bevel on the edge, but I can peel off that coating and finish the job on this side. Okay, and if you see the line that I made is just about gone, which means I've sanded up to the line. There's a bevel on each side. And if I wanted to put hinges in there, I could use that tool that I have to put hinges right in the center of that bevel with my knife. I'm going to put one right here. There you go. The hinge slot is right in the center. So the sanding tools can work on balsa or foam, different kinds of foam, like the Depron I did earlier.